This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe. I'm here to tell you all to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming and remember to turn on notifications. You will be the first to know all about the latest Dragon Ball news and information.
Oh, did you say UnrealEntGaming? Oh, I love his channel.
God damn it, Zarbon, stop rubbing your nipples and get back to bed!
Dragon Ball Super has now officially reached 100 episodes within the franchise, and joining me here today to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly within Dragon Ball Super is Dragon Ball YouTuber EmoshIsLive, in which I will leave a link down below for you guys to go on ahead and check out, and don't forget to subscribe to him for more analytical breakdowns. And of course, for those of you who are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel. Hashtag notification squad. Emosh, we have just reached 100 episodes within Dragon Ball Super, and ever since Dragon Ball Super's inception back in July of 2015, we've seen lots of stuff go down, in which I highly encourage you guys to watch through this entire video because we have a lot to say, and we've seen some really good stuff within the anime thus far, but just as many good things as we've seen, we've also seen some pretty bad things as well. So I wanted to get your thoughts right now on Dragon Ball Super having to reach 100 episodes, and if you can recap some, glorious moments that you thought were defined in Dragon Ball Super, if you can recap some good moments and some bad moments, because there have been a lot. So what are your overall thoughts on us having to, come this far in the show, and what are your overall expectations as we go further down the line within the Tournament of Power and possibly other arcs?
Well, to reach 100 episodes, as far as Dragon Ball Super is concerned, is a big thing. It's mainly because it kind of caters to the concept of us previously thinking that we would never see or get any more Dragon Ball content as a whole.
Right.
Back, after Dragon Ball Z finished, I was like, God damn, man. Like, to this day, sometimes I still watch, the fight with Kid Buu. I still watch, fight Raditz, Vegeta, stuff like that, because I'm trying to relive the moments of what Dragon Ball Z was, because it was such an amazing show. To this day, it's still an amazing show.
Right.
Some people could argue that, well, you could always watch Dragon Ball Z Kai, but it doesn't doesn't really grasp the same kind of emotion or feeling that Dragon Ball Z had originally when it was first released. So reaching 100 episodes now, I think it's amazing. I think it's good for the series. I'm highly, looking forward to them, hopefully reaching 200. That would be amazing. I think that, kind of pushing it, granted us, how far Goku and Vegeta, etc. have come. Granted, Tournament of Power is arguably, it could be, back then we previously thought that it would be the final arc, like, because where do you go after that, right? So
yeah.
Now that we're finally here, you could only keep thinking, well, what's next, right? So I think it's great. I'm really looking forward to see what they have to offer in terms of, midway into the tournament, especially after. It's going to be exciting.
I think that with Mosako Nozawa confirming that she wants to do 700 episodes, that's insane.
Yeah.
Because that's about like 10 to 12 years worth of work right there. And I mean, having it take up to 2 years to reach to episode 100, you can only speculate, like, damn, like if by some chance they were to do that, we would have so much material. I mean, that would be pushing One Piece, because One Piece right now is within the 700 mark for episodes, and I think that it's pretty cool. And no, guys, it's not confirmed that there is going to be 700 episodes, but in fact, the voice actress for Goku had wanted and shared her expression in wanting to do 700 episodes, just because there are 7 Dragon Balls, and she feels as if it's fitting for the series. But I also wanted to ask you if you can recap some of the good moments within Dragon Ball Super, because I think that they've definitely catered to a lot of fan service. Now, arguably, some of the bad things, I guess, would be the retelling of the movies, because not everyone was a fan of that, even though we got extra material, and extra dialogue to coincide with the remakes for, like, the actual movies. How did you feel about that? Like, in essence, to where, I don't know if you want to start with the good or the bad. If anything, since we're already talking about it, let's go ahead and start with the bad things. So what were some of the bad moments that you feel were executed in Dragon Ball Super having to lead into 100 episodes? And because for me, I think one of them definitely was the retelling of the movies, because even though it was needed to cater to the casual fans and get them more immersed in the show, and it actually built it up. It built up to what's happening now. I felt as if it kind of was a little convoluted with, like, the animation and stuff, because the whole Resurrection F arc with Frieza and Goku was terribly animated. People can often tell you, hey, when Goku fought Frieza in his golden form, it was just terrible animation. So I think that was definitely one. But if you can recap some of the bad moments of Dragon Ball leading up into this point, what would they be?
To touch up on that, what you just said, to be honest, I actually didn't even watch the movies until I actually started watching the actual episodes of Dragon Ball Super. So, for example, I didn't come back to Dragon Ball Super until the actual Goku Black and Zamasu arc, which is when I first started talking to you. right? That's around the time I first started talking to you. So I still had a lot of catching up to do, but I kind of binge watched everything, and I was able to catch up within like, maybe a few days within the week. And then after watching the Battle of Gods arc, the ROF arc, then I went to go watch the movies, and I saw the difference between the two. I appreciated the extra content, the dialogue and stuff like that, but I kind of felt like it was like, especially the Battle of Gods. The way the way Dragon Ball Super first started off was very boring in my opinion. So if you were a casual fan, just stumbling across an anime to watch, and you got these episodes with Goku at the farm and all this other junk and stuff like that, I think it took too long before the actual fighting and action actually commenced. So if you were a new fan or just a new person coming into an anime and you saw that for the first time, more than likely you probably would not have committed yourself to watching Dragon Ball Super then. So, but granted that Dragon Ball Super initially was to get the old fans back and have us old fans probably recommend other people to watch it, people who have never tuned into Dragon Ball before. I think maybe that could have been the the marketing strategy, if anything. But as far as I completely agree with you with the whole complete retelling of the story. I didn't like the animations were kind of choppy, but at the same time, coming back from Dragon Ball Z into Dragon Ball Super, finally realizing that Dragon Ball is releasing content, I personally didn't give a shit about the animation. To this day, I don't. I just feel like Dragon Ball is Dragon Ball at that point in time, considering that, I just mentioned before how I still watch the old Dragon Ball Z fights, right? Which, by the way, were magnificently done. I don't think anybody can touch the way they handle it in Dragon Ball Z. So I agree with that. I would say that's probably the worst part of it. Also, the way Dragon Ball Super started as a whole, I think it was too boring early on. And if you were a new fan coming into the series, you more than likely would not have committed yourself to the series unless a diehard Dragon Ball fan recommended for you to do so.
Now, I mean, 100 episodes, you can expect bad things to happen because not every episode is going to be filled with joy and badassery. I mean, there were certain instances where we saw some pretty boring stuff and we saw some poor execution. For example, some can argue the overall conclusion of the Goku Black story and having it be rushed, and then having, a bunch of sequences involving Hit and Goku's rematch, how that felt, people felt like that was rushed. But, despite all of the bad things, we've seen lots and lots of good things come from Dragon Ball Super as well. So I wanted to get your take on some of the awesomeness that we saw in the entirety of Dragon Ball thus far, and just, you having to share some of your favorite moments within the show. So if you had to recap some of the cool moments, what would they be?
Do you remember when... Okay, this is a love-hate relationship here. Super Saiyan God, right?
Right.
I hate how it was executed. I think it was terrible. But I love the concept. I love the concept of Super Saiyan God, the aura, the look, the color, what it signified, the fact that you were a literal god, even though it was temporary, the fact that he was, continued to grow every single second he fought, to keep breaking those, surpassing what he thought the previous limitations of Super Saiyan God, where he kept growing. I loved when Beerus was first introduced. Listen, when I first saw Beerus, and this is granted when I first came to Dragon Ball Super, when I first saw Beerus, I was like, listen, there's no way they're gonna beat this man. There's no way they could even touch him.
Right.
I'm sorry, no, this dude just flicked Super Saiyan 3 Goku in the head, knocked him back, put his palm on his, on his back, on his shoulder, and just one-shotted him. I was just like, nah, I'm sorry, I don't see this ever happening. Then Super Saiyan God was born, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't agree with the execution, but the fight was amazing. I cannot deny that. We fast forward. Another moment I liked is when they went back to the Future Trunks' timeline for the first time, when they went to the first time, and they thought they were gonna beat Goku and everything, this and that, and then Goku just fucking stabs Vegeta. That threw me off on
that was amazing. Nobody thought Vegeta would get stabbed.
Dude, I remember after that episode was done, I actually called you. I was like, bro, did you see that shit?
Yeah, I remember I heard the excitement in your voice because that was something very unexpected, and I agree with you. Him having to stab Vegeta alongside killing Bulma for the first time of his introduction. Nobody really expected that because everyone was speculating as to how can you immerse Goku Black in the story and make him be relevant, and the first thing he does is blow the woman in pieces right in front of her son, and that was something incredibly awesome to see, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, no, definitely, because it threw you, because see, with Dragon Ball, when people die, it's always like, you kind of expect it, right? You expect somebody's gonna die, somebody's gonna kind of give himself up. But that shit with Vegeta, did not expect that. When Goku Black was first introduced, and right away, they introduced him just, okay, goodbye, future Bulma. No big deal, she's done. I was just like, okay, what a way to introduce yourself. And then he comes back to the present timeline to, casually fight with Goku, goes back to his timeline, and then they go back to that timeline to fight Goku Black and supposedly kill him, and then he's just stronger than ever, and he's tanking Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta in his base form.
And then they run away.
And then they run away again.
And then they come back again just to get whooped again.
Oh, and then this is where we go back to the hating part where Goku forgets the sensu beans, Goku forgets the sealing talisman for the Mafuba jar. It was just nonstop, like, what the fuck is going on right now? Then they fuse together, become Merge Zamasu. Then we got that preview, remember?
Oh, the Vegito preview. Nobody, I still say till this day, nobody, and I mean nobody, expected to see Vegito, during that time, because people assumed that maybe we were gonna see fusion in Dragon Ball Super, and I still to this day, I made videos about it, right, talking about and discussing how fusion was necessary to battle against someone who was immortal, as I felt during that time that to test the fusion's power, it would be great to see a fusion such as Vegito and or Gogeta, combat the likes of someone who cannot die, just to see where the fusion stands. And lo and behold, we got to see Vegito, and that was a huge fan service. But as you just said, the love-hate relationship, going back to how Vegito was introduced only for 5 minutes. And that was something to where when we first saw him, that was, for the time being, that was an incredible fight, and then it was just cut short. So I think that a lot of people were just pissed on that, saying, what the hell? What was the point of doing that? At least drag it on to one more episode, because the fight with Majin Buu was dragged on a few episodes. We saw Vegito kick him around and punch him around, and it was incredible. And with that, you introduce such a high caliber character like Vegito, and then have him, become a Super Saiyan Blue. Everyone, originally that was fan fiction. That was definitely fan fiction, fan mods for Xenoverse, and then it became a reality. And so seeing that was great. But also, let's go back to the arc previous to that and seeing, Universe 6 having to fight Universe 7. And having hit,
that was great.
And having hit for the first time, knock out a Super Saiyan Blue. He knocked Vegeta out, and nobody really thought that was going to happen. And even after seeing Goku reach Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10, and then just when you thought it was over, Hit managed to time skip that. So what did you think about that arc, in that specific battle?
I think, the time skipping of the Kaioken times 10 was too much. I think that was just forced up our asses right then and there. I didn't agree with that at all. I figured, well, okay, Goku, to Super Saiyan Blue, Kaioken times 10. When was the last time we've seen that? And granted that this is the first time we've seen that in years, that means it's going to, definitively put Goku over Hit. Right. And then, to no avail, Hit ends up dodging it. And it's just like, okay, well, then they both end up stepping out the ring, and then Monica takes the match. I'm just like, okay, it's your basic gag kind of style that Akira Toriyama's, very used to. He mentions it a lot, that he considers himself to be more of a gag, artist or a gag kind of storyteller, as opposed to him telling an actual story. So I like the whole, introduction of other universes, and even going into it now. And I will say though, I feel like as far as villains or antagonists or just oppositions in general, as far as Dragon Ball Super is concerned, I think Dragon Ball Z as a whole handles them a lot better, right? Oh yeah, with the introduction of Frieza, Cell, and Buu. Yeah. Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball Super, it's like they're in, then they're out. They're in, then they're out. Like the whole concept of Goku Black, in my opinion, and to this day, I firmly believe that. Hopefully you guys can agree. I feel like Goku Black was better off on his own. I feel like Zamasu was holding him back. The future Zamasu was holding him back. This whole ideology of him being immortal and him, only relying on Goku Black to get stronger. Meanwhile, Goku Black could have just done his own thing, considering how much better off. When they merged together, we come to find out that the Goku Black half was actually responsible for why the fusion was weakened. So it's like, well, he was better off on his own. So I think Dragon Ball Super has a lot of love-hate relationships where they execute things properly, where they introduce the concepts in a way where it's like, oh, okay, this sounds like it has a lot of potential. Then they end up rushing it at the end. For whatever reasons they have, at this point in time, it's not really going to matter. But I will say, though, my most hated moments for, besides the Goku Black arc, what they did with Trunks, I hated the copy of Vegeta thing. I hated that. The Potafu, right. I think that was just, completely just fucking retarded. Having Vegeta suck on a little pacifier. I was just like, listen, like, Dragon Ball Super is your chance to at least give Vegeta some kind of shine. And I'm not even a Vegeta fan. They technically gave you baby Vegeta if you look at how they formulated that, yeah. Right. So it's like, I'm just like, okay, so we're not trying to, start off fresh from a clean slate. We're still going back to the whole concept of let's just shit on Vegeta and have Goku save Vegeta and then make Vegeta look like a baby that's depending on Goku to save him. And then we go forward, Vegeta gets stabbed in the Goku Black arc. Then we go forward, Vegeta trains in the Rosat. Goku's still stronger. Vegeta trains in the rule set again. Goku right now is still stronger for some reason. So it's like, okay, it's like, okay, I mean, where do we go from here? So I hated the copy of Vegeta. I think it was unnecessary.
Actually, for that, I remember how Gotenks got one-shotted as well. I think the only cool thing from copy Vegeta was how he became a Super Saiyan Blue. So like you saw like the blue-purple thing. That was the only thing that was cool in my opinion, at least for that. But I agree, that wasn't all that too great either. I mean, just definitely filler like.
It's hard. I will say though, it's hard to consistently, like I've noticed as this video is being recorded, that we keep going back to the hate. To what we hate about Dragon Ball Super.
Well, I mean,
because
speaking of that,
it leaves a scar. I think it leaves a scar on you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, it does. It does. Like for example, we talked about it many times. As much as you hate the Potafu little like material that we got there, I hated the rematch between Goku and Hit during Dragon Ball Super Episode 70, I think it was.
Yeah, that was
because
rushed.
the way that was handled, right? We have Hit the Assassin come after Goku because everyone lost their shit in December when we found out that Hit was hired to kill Goku, and everyone was speculating what, when, how, why, who hired him, why, what's the reason, and just to see Hit kill him, which was great, I think. But then Goku brought himself back with that Ki Blast to the heart, and after he, once he went after Hit, having that momentary battle, it was wasted because Goku managed to break the time seal, and then he was able to blast him with the Kamehameha, and then they were both in the water, and then they found out, well, I was the one that hired him because I wanted to get stronger and stuff. That was a complete waste. I think they should have kept Hit away and possibly saving him for a future arc or for something more. But having that happen was just that was the worst thing I think ever happened, because seeing their fight, that was not the same fight they had during the Universe 6 series, and seeing their battle then to seeing it now, it was just,
and that was a tournament setting.
Exactly. And now we have them again in the Tournament of Power, so one can only assume that their fight is going to be better. But seeing them now, having to fight previous, to the Tournament of Power, it was like, okay, well, that was rushed. I mean, there was no need for Goku to say, well, I figured out your ability, and then he broke it and stuff. So that was pretty bad. But speaking of that, what was your favorite moment among 100 episodes? What was your favorite moment leading up to a specific episode or to a specific scene throughout the entire duration of 100 episodes?
Wow, that's interesting. My favorite moment, honestly, back when Beerus was relevant. Like, I felt like when he was more than just a... Yeah, I think Beerus in general, back when his character was really capitalized on, I feel like, and don't get me wrong, I know it's because the Hakaishin are overwhelmingly powerful. How can you really capitalize on them if the show is about Goku at the same time? But I just feel like we lost that essence of Goku trying to surpass Beerus, let alone potentially have a rematch with him someday. I felt like in the Battle of Gods arc, we kind of got that feeling. Even after that, we kind of, continue to get that feeling that, okay, Goku needs to go through this stuff if he's going to be able to, fight Beerus or have a rematch or even surpass him. Right. But now all of a sudden, it's just like, well, he's going to reach a new level. Jiren or whoever is a mortal who's stronger than every Hakaishin, and then that Hakaishin is stronger than Beerus, so why even mention that if they're not even going to fight each other? And meanwhile, the only time they actually gauged their strength, was during an arm wrestling match. So it's like, all of a sudden, I feel like we're kind of going off track from what Goku's original goal was. So if his goal right now is to be the strongest mortal fighter in the multiverse, then by all means, that's fine. But at the same time, granted that now we have a mortal who's stronger than, even the Hakaishin cannot defeat, right? I'm not saying destroy, but defeat. Right. Then it's like, okay, so naturally your next step would be either to surpass the Hakaishin, beat Beerus or something like that, have some kind of rematch, and then fight this mortal, or beat this mortal and then fight Beerus. Granted that the only way they gauge Beerus' strength versus the other Hakaishin was during an arm wrestling match, which is no way, shape, or form a definitive way to say who is the superior fighter, who is the superior character over the opposition. Right. So I just feel like the storytelling as far as Goku's story is kind of gotten a little off track. So that's my concern. So that's why I say I kind of miss when Beerus and these characters who have a higher position felt like they were a lot more relevant than they were now. That's just my opinion.
For me, I think one of my favorite episodes was when we finally got to see Zamasu make the appearance in the future, and that was when everyone was like, wait a minute, so you guys aren't the same person? And they were like, actually, we kind of are. So the engage, I think it was Dragon Ball Super episode 55, when we had Goku and Trunks fight Zamasu and Black, and then Vegeta having to make the save with the final flash. I mean, that was an incredible episode because we saw Goku combat both of them, and then he couldn't handle them because Black used instant transmission, and Trunks tried to handle Zamasu, and then Black was just on a rampage with the sword, and they were going to kill them off, and then the Kamehameha. It was insane. But also after that, I would say the episode with Vegito, because Vegito and Zamasu just really slugged it out. So those two I think were one of my favorites. Of course, even some of like the mellow and calm episodes. For example, the baseball episode was my favorite.
That was amazing. That was amazing.
Yo, come on. That if anything
but
that
it's
concerned.
Sad though. It's sad though.
Why is that?
That an episode like that would be, like a defining, because that's an episode that you hold on to, that we remember definitively. So it really depends on if you want to categorize it in terms of like your favorite gag episode, which we didn't really have that many Dragon Ball Super. So you can't really put the Arale episode as your favorite episode because once again Vegeta got shit on there, by the way. So it's a baseball episode was a fun. It was a wacky idea, but then when it aired, it was done so well. It was amazing, and ironically, it's an episode that kind of put the focus and spotlight on Yamcha.
and Yamcha winning the baseball game, by the way, too. And just the overall focus of how they did it. Because remember, mind you, nobody has ever played baseball before except for Yamcha, right? Or at least maybe Gohan, who's seen it before. But everyone was like trying, and we see how like competitive Goku and Vegeta were when like Vegeta's like, I'm gonna strike you out, and Goku's like, well, try. And then they used Super Saiyan Blue, and then it was pushing everything back, and the entire place exploded. And then having to see Yamcha get bitched out so many times when Champa threw the ball, and then when he felt it was just insane. And even when the gods fought, Goku's like, everyone grab on, and then we see Vegeta running, and we see everyone squish them. So that was a great episode. And even going back to the whole Arale episode, I mean, even though I think that was kind of slow paced, seeing Vegeta kind of like scratch his head like, what the fuck what is she like? And then she told Goku, I can crack the world in two. Even like it was a filler-ish like episode just to build up, but it was still a pretty cool moment to see how Vegeta got like bitched out and Goku was just confused because he wanted to use his full power, and then he tried to use the 100 times Kamehameha and stuff. It was insane. So even some of the filler episodes I think were good. But if you have a recap,
the worst moment, and I want to ask you guys in the comment section. Let us know in the comment section which moment you think was, far superior in terms of being an ass pull. The Trunks Genki Dama sword against Zamasu, splitting him in half, or Caulifla as of lately in general.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. So do you feel as if the biggest like confusing / like ass pull moment was Trunks using the Genki Dama sword, or was it the idea of Caulifla having to easily tap into Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 2, and now possibly having to tap into something even more down the line? So like, what do you think was like the biggest ass pull here in your opinion?
After seeing that,
and don't forget base Goku Black tanking Vegeta, because that was out of nowhere too.
Well, it was, in terms of power, that's expected. It was kind of like, oh my god, like, holy shit, like, that was like, it had the surprise factor. I don't think that was so much of an ass pull. We kind of expected Goku Black to not just kill off that early, but at the same time, we didn't expect for him to become this powerful in such a short amount of time. That's where power scaling was kind of like, okay, well, let's make this person this strong. Let's make this person this strong, this strong, this strong. But that's okay, because Dragon Ball has that history in terms of just making people overwhelmingly powerful out of nowhere. But with Caulifla, it's just like, let's give her Super Saiyan, and then Super Saiyan 2 in the same episode, and now let's ask her how to learn Super Saiyan Blue, just for the sake of making her relevant, throughout the plot or throughout the storyline as the story continues to be told. And meanwhile, we just got Gohan back. Meanwhile, Vegeta feels like a side character. We don't know where his direction's going as the Prince of All Saiyans, as the most developed character in Dragon Ball history next to Piccolo. We don't know where Vegeta's going. So it's okay to introduce new characters and give them a backstory, but don't forget the main characters that helped create your franchise and make it what it is today. You know what I'm saying? So I would say, based on that, I think I would say, because Trunks was a relevant character, and who has been a relevant character before back in Dragon Ball Z, I could forgive that, especially with the way they handle Caulifla. So,
for me, I'm just having to look at this. We can go on forever, because there were so many moments in Dragon Ball that were just defining. There were so many moments that were, very saddened. There were certain moments where it kind of left you like scratching your head. But either way, as of right now, I'm actually I'm very proud to say that we've reached 100 episodes. Far surpassing Dragon Ball GT, because GT ended off at 64. So who knows? We may get 150, 200, 300, 700. Who knows? I just feel like there is lots of material to go off of here. And we're about to see, you know, another episode, well, 100 more episodes. I was going to say just 100 more episodes that are going to be filled with good moments, bad moments. But post your comments down below, guys. What were some of your good moments, your bad moments, as we just talked about? And we would like to hear your thoughts on this, because celebrating 100 episodes, I mean, it took 2 years, but we finally got here. So, Emosh, I do want to say thank you for joining me, and thank you guys for watching. As always, if you guys are fans, don't forget to hit that like button, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and also subscribe to EmoshIsLive. I will link his channel down below, guys. Thank you all for watching and celebrating 100 episodes of Dragon Ball Super, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, guys. Peace.